welcome to Debra Quilts Lots and Knits Bits. I'm Debra McCracken and I'm a long arm quilter from Penticton, BC, Canada. And I quilt a lot and I knit a little bit. So welcome to my vlog slash podcast. I am here to talk about my knitting and my quilting, and I make some project bags. And I do a little bit of stuff that I would just love to share with you, and I don't get out much, so this is my opportunity to talk. And so if you are joining us, thank you for coming back. And if you are joining us for the first time, welcome. I hope you like what you see, and subscribe and like the video, and please, by all means, comment in the section below if there's anything that you'd like to see me show you, or have any questions, or just want to say hi. So I have just returned from a family trip to Playa del Carmen, Mexico. We were there for 12 days and we met up with family down there and took some friends with us, and we just had a great time. We stayed at the Ocean Riviera Paradise, and it was a nice enough resort. We didn't leave for 12 days. We were very well fed and very well taken care of. Everybody was very pleasant and very nice, and it was a really nice place to go. We did have Barrett, our great nephew, with us, and he is 3, and he had a blast. And so thank you to Charlotte, my niece, for organizing it and being able to herd all of the cats into the same place at the same time for a wonderful visit. And next time you come up with an idea, let us know, because we'll go again. Anyway, I am here to talk about my knitting first, and then I'll talk a little bit about quilting, and then I've read some interesting books lately, so that'll be kind of at the end. So if you're interested in all that, stick with us. If you want to fast forward to the quilting part, please do so. And if you want to take off after the knitting part, well, that's up to you. So just to start with, I have finished my butterfly shawl, and I'm wearing it today, and I love it. So just give you a little preview here. Let's stand up and show you the back. It was such a fun knit, and once you get the hang of it, it really goes fast. And it took me about 5 weeks because I broke my knitting needles, and thought I could just pick some up at the store downtown, but she's actually closed her bricks and mortar store and gonna go mobile. So I sent a panicked email to Kathy at So Much More Yarn, SCW, Much More Yarn, in New Denver, who helped me pick out my yarn as well. So I sent her an emergency email saying, help, 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 I need needles. And she put the needles in the mail. I got them a few days later, and I was able to finish my shawl. So the contrast color that I used is the Madeline Tosh Merino Light in the Begonia Leaf colorway. And that was beautiful to work with. It's so very soft. I really like it. And my main color, my variegated yarn, was Unique Fingering in the Earth colorway 3002, and it's just beautiful. So it called for 2 skeins of this and 1 skein of the other, and I used up most of the Tosh Merino Light, and I used about 1.5 skeins of this. So because I got a little bit extra, I could do a whole other one. And you know what? I might try to do a whole other one without any mistakes this time, because as you can't even tell, but I did have a few little things where I skipped a section, and then, oh no, did I skip a section? And then I started checking things off as I went. on the pattern, and that made all the difference. I didn't have any extra stitches left at the end, and I knew where I was going. So any advice to give? That'd be it. Just keep track of where you're at. Anyway, the other thing that I have on underneath isn't quite finished yet. It's my latest work in progress. I sent my daughter, I found this sweater on a podcast from Espace Tricot, a Montreal yarn shop. And this is one of their own designs, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry. It's called the Over Easy Sweater. And before the yarn shop closed here, I did get a few skeins of this Vintage Chunky by Barocco, and it's really nice to work with. It's 52% acrylic and 40% wool and 8% nylon. So hopefully it holds up, and but it makes it more washable, which this is the sweaters for my daughter. She will appreciate that, I think. So I still have to put the sleeves on. I just got the shoulders together yesterday morning. And last night I just didn't have the headspace to pick up the stitches here. But it's very quick. So Tuesday to Thursday I got this far. And I do even have a picture up here on my tablet. So that's what it should look like. I've gone a little bit shorter because my daughter is a little bit tinier, and I think shorter will be better on her. Anyway, she said, oh yeah, that's a fun little sweater. That'll be nice to throw over a blouse or a tank top to go to work. She works in a fancy office downtown Calgary, so she needs to have a variety of wardrobe. I don't need a variety of wardrobe. I need a variety of pajamas for my work, which is awesome. I love it. I get to work at home. I get to quilt for other people, and I've been doing that for 14 years, and I still love it to death. Okay, so I think that's the end of my knitting. I do have a project page for my shawl on Ravelry, so you could go take a look there if you want some more details and want to see some more pictures. I do have another project page for my column sweater, which I saw on the podcast for Wet Coast Wools in Vancouver, a yarn shop in Vancouver. I did the shoulders and I took it out, and then I thought, oh, I'll start knitting from the bottom in the round I was on holidays, so it would be easy and no thinking. And when I got home, I put it on a longer cable and I tried it on, and well, it's not going to fit. So I don't know if it was the guacamole or just my stitch count. My gauge is off. I'm trying to use the hemp yarn, and I've been trying a few different needle sizes. I need to actually sit down and knit an actual swatch and go from there. That would require patience. Not my strong suit. Anyway, so that's about it for knitting. And last time I spoke to you, I was on my way to quilt retreat. Went to Osoyoos in BC here. We were at the Walnut Beach Resort, and that is just a really nice place. It is actually a resort. People stay there all winter. Farmers come from the prairies and stay there for the winter. And I imagine it's a pretty busy place during the summer. We had a wonderful time. We went on Thursday morning. We took our own projects. There were 25 of us. We were very well fed. We swam in the pool, we sewed all day and into the night, and we had a great time. I took my applique quilt with me, this one, if you could recall, and I was going to stitch around all the applique while we were there. So I got out a extra piece that was cut, and I tried my blanket stitch first, and then I tried my satin stitch, and then I tried a narrower satin stitch, and I made notes. I don't know if you can actually read them. I made notes as to what the stitch width and the stitch length was, so that when I got onto my sewing machine, or if I would have to go back to it, I would know which stitch I liked. And then I put the fuse and tear stabilizer behind everything. And I got started and I got stitching. Now, once I stitched this nice narrow satin stitch down a few pieces, I realized that I need some more practice, because they're very long lines and my stitches were going wobbly. So I pulled them all out, which was pretty easy because I had the stabilizer on the back, so I could just get my seam ripper under the bobbin thread and pop it off. And I don't have a lot of fraying on the top edge of the applique, so that's awesome. And if I did, I could probably pull the pieces off and replace them, because I do still have some extra bits and some extra yardage of that fabric because it's so wonderful. Anyway, and here's what the pattern looks like. It's called Cathedral, and it's by Allison Glass. And really, it would be a nice quilt, nice, simple, fast quilt if you just were going to do raw edge applique, which, you know what, I may end up doing that. The thread that I used was the Glide Denim color. It's like kind of a navy blue, and I think it really is pretty. It's not stark black, but it's dark enough to give kind of a leaded stained glass look. So we'll see. The jury's still out on how I'm going to finish that. I may go back to the blanket stitch because it does look nice on the sample, and I think once I do like tons and tons and tons of it, it'll be substantial enough that it'll give me the look that I want without having to be so precise with the satin stitching. Barring that, I could just do some practice on the satin stitching, on the straight lines and the curves, the inside curves and the outside curves that I need to work on. It might happen. One thing I did get finished at the retreat. I didn't get lots finished. I worked on a ton of little things. And this just needed the binding, so actually this just needed the binding sewn down. So just to qualify, it wasn't really a big finish. Anyway, this is a Christmas tree. It's called Feathered Christmas. And this is a pattern I picked up about 4 years ago, and I was playing with my brother's scan and cut machine, and I'd cut most of the pieces out. I don't know why I didn't cut all of the pieces out. And then I just put it in a bag and put it away. My friend Mary, hello Mary, was here at Christmas time, and we were using the machine to cut out some letters to put names on Christmas stockings for her family. And I pulled this out. I said, hey, you've got this background fabric. I said, this would look awesome on there. Why don't you take it and finish it? She says, why don't I leave the background fabric and you can finish it? So she did. So thank you for the background fabric. I just raw edged stitched it with a Monopoly, it's Superior Monopoly, which is their monofilament, polyester monofilament invisible thread. It's 100 weight, And so I used that for the raw edge applique and all of the quilting, and I even used it to sew the binding down. And I also adorned it with some Swarovski crystals, and you can see the sparkle there. So I had a package of 100 crystals, and they were assorted sizes, and I put them all on here. So now I have a sparkly Christmas tree. And the Swarovski crystals, I got them at Michael's in the jewelry section. However, I don't think that's the most economical way to purchase those crystals. I did look it up, and Dharma Trading has them in bulk, and I think that's where the girls that put like thousands and thousands of crystals get theirs from. So at Michael's, your 40% off coupon is not eligible. Your Swarovski crystals are not eligible for your 40% off coupon. So just saying. Anyway, so here's the pattern. It was called Feathered Christmas, and it was by Cherry Blossoms Quilting Studio. And they actually do even have AccuQuilt Go cutter dies for this. So if you have an AccuQuilt Go machine, you could just make tons of these for everybody. And really, once it's in the Brothers Scan and Cut, because you just scan the pattern in and it cuts everything out for you. Once it's in there, you could make tons for everybody too. So there are uses for those machines. I am not very good at retaining how the machine works, so I have to continually, it's like starting over every time, and I should do it more often, but I just get frustrated, and it's easier to, for me, just easier to cut things out by hand. But honestly, I should use it more, because it is a very awesome thing. I could even make signs with it, like you can put a pen in it and it draws things out. I have some heat transfer vinyl that I bought to develop a logo for debraquiltslots and put it on t-shirts, and it would cut that out too, and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, eventually I'll probably use it a little bit more. So the quilt behind me is actually on my website, and it is for sale. It's the first Judy Niemeyer quilt that I ever made. I paper pieced it through the paper, and I finished it. I worked on it on and off for about 4 years, and I finished it when we were at Luther Haven Retreat the first time. So that's 7 or 8 years ago. And my friend Ray, was sitting behind me at the time, she's like, "Oh, you sewed through all that paper, isn't that nice? Now you have to take it out." And then promptly showed me her freezer paper, paperless piecing method. And so she was paper piecing, and then she would just peel the freezer paper off at the end. And it was quite a, I don't know, I was kind of choked at the time. So when I went to town with one of the other girls, actually, Ray felt bad that she had rubbed my nose in this, and she peeled off a bunch of paper while I was away, which, thank you very much, Ray. So she's got a hand in this too. Anyway, I was going to, once I got the curved piecing all done and the paper all taken out, it was a pretty lumpy quilt. And to be honest, I may have thrown it out if I hadn't known that I could quilt it out. Like I could quilt it flat and make it look pretty, and that's what I did. And I really enjoyed it up to that point. And after I started quilting it, I was enjoying it more. Again, I was going to quilt the dark places, the dark areas here, not there, here, with bright colored threads. And my brother pointed out, he says, you know, he says, don't you have any iridescent threads? Wouldn't that look nice? And I'm like, oh, it would. So I ended up quilting it with a metallic thread. And the thread was called Rhinegold, and I can't find it anymore. And it turned out just beautiful. I'll put some pictures at the end. On the back of the quilt, I wonder if I can't just lift it up here. I did use my bright colored threads on the cotton sateen black, and it really turned out. It's a nice quilt. It shows well from the front and it shows well from the back. And so the pattern was called Sea Urchins by Quiltworks. Pardon me, I don't know if you can get this pattern anymore. I do have one copy left. If you are interested, you can shoot me a email and I could sell it to you. So, speaking of curved piecing, next weekend on Friday, March 22nd, the Okanagan Modern Quilt Guild is bringing in Stacey Day. She's going to do a trunk show for us at the Summerland Arts Center at 7 p.m. on the 22nd. And she's going to show us some of her modern quilts. She's going to talk to us about some quilts in her book Child's Play, her latest book. She is a Canadian quilting sensation. She was here a few years back to teach some classes in Penticton, and everybody that took classes from her said that she was awesome. So I am so looking forward to Saturday, March 23rd, where I'm going to take a class from her, and it's called Effervescent. It's one of her patterns, and she sent us out a coloring sheet. So I did color it up. So as you can see, there's some curved piecing in there, and there's I believe there's some bias tape involved and that kind of thing too. I'm not sure. And I didn't have very many brown crayons, but this is the very special fabric that's been in my stash for quite some time, waiting for a specific project. So it has a great big circle in the center, so that's going to be, this is going to be in my center, and it's also going to be my outside ring. And the fabrics start out light and get darker as we go out. So I have everything cut out, and then I read the instructions that said that you should just cut and mark the seam allowances or the matching points on every piece individually. And so hoping that I can recover when I've done. I think it's just going to be a matter of sitting down with my marking pen and marking those spots. I probably will use a friction pen for the lighter colors and the clover white marker for the darker colors. It's kind of it looks like a ballpoint pen, and it's kind of got a wax in it that goes away with the iron. The friction pen goes away with the iron, and they do say that it comes back in the cold unless you wash it out. So there's lots of controversy about that, but it is one of my favorite tools to use, and I've never had any issues with it. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, the other thing that I finished at retreat, I was talking to Kathy from So Much More Yarn in New Denver, and I'm going up to Fiberphilia on June 22nd, 23rd of this year to teach quilting classes. And there's the website, fiberphiliafest.ca. The classes are all on there on the website now. You can register. So there's going to be 2 quilting classes, and then there are a ton of knitting and weaving and spinning and dyeing and needle felting and maybe some other things too. I don't even know. I just looked at all of them and I wished I could take all of them. If you're not into taking a class, it is a worthwhile drive to pop up to New Denver, which is on the Slocan Lake and Highway 6, I believe. Anyway, between it's in the Kootenays. It's a little bit south of, a little bit south of Nakusp and north of Nelson Castlegar. So join us. I mean, there is no more beautiful setting for a wonderful event. So there's going to be a marketplace. Kathy's going to have the store open at So Much More Yarn. And it's just a great place to go and visit. So join us June 22nd, 23rd up there. So class on, oh, I forgot to get that other one out. Class on Sunday is a beginner class. So I wanted to do a beginner class where we learn to make some strata and some fort patches, and then learn to make some half square triangles and put some borders on. So I'm calling this my beginner star. And it just gives you a little bit of everything. So we're going to learn how to cut our fabric and press properly and do some piecing. And this I actually quilted on my domestic sewing machine with the walking foot in straight-ish lines. My husband said, "Oh, those lines aren't straight." And I'm like, well, you know, they're not supposed to be. Consistently inconsistent is the key. If you can make them look like they're all supposed to look like that, then it's easy. Anyway, on the other class is Passages by the Guilty Quilter. I'll just grab that pattern right now. And this class is for the confident beginner. Intermediate, we'll have some, you'll get lots of ideas or lots of tips on maybe improving your piecing. And it's not a very difficult quilt to do. You just have to pay attention. And here it is. It's kind of a cool quilt. It looks very 3D. So Passages by the Guilty Quilter. Kathy will have the patterns available in her store at So Much More Yarns. I know that Poppin's Quilt Parlor, if you're here in the Okanagan, Poppin's Quilt Parlor does have the patterns in their store as well, and my quilt is actually up on the wall there. So if you would like to join us in New Denver on June 22nd, the Saturday, that's the class that we'll be teaching that day. And there may be some, if you do the pre-cutting, you probably can finish most of the blocks and get the body of the quilt put together and see what it looks like, because it's very exciting. And so that's at fiberphiliafest.ca. You can sign up for those things. And that's about all the quilting that I've gotten done. I haven't even added any new project bags to the website this month because I was away at Quilt Retreat for 4 days, and then I was away in Mexico for 12 days, and then there's only 28 days in February. So I really didn't get a lot of things accomplished for me. I got a lot of quilts quilted, and you can see those on the debraquiltslots Facebook page. There's an album there for each month of the year and the customer quilts that I was able to work on. It's such an honor for people to bring me their quilts. I honestly really love it, and it's just so cool to be able to work on something different all the time. And as I mentioned before, I've been doing it for 14 years, and I love it. Every day I get up and go, oh my gosh, what do I get to work on today? Honestly, when I had a job, I would get up every day and go, oh my gosh, I got to work today. But now get up, put my fresh wardrobe of jammies on, and off I go. Trip off to work, get some stuff done, have a snack, have a nap, back to work, make supper. It's a pretty good life. I'm very content. Anyway, what else do I want? Oh, I want to tell you about some events that are coming up. Besides the Stacy Day Trunk Show on March 22nd in Summerland at 7 p.m. And there were 2 spots left in the class on the Saturday, March 23rd. So if you are at all interested in that, then shoot me an email pretty quick and I will put you in touch with Judy, our president of the Modern Quilt Guild, who's organizing things, and we'll get you in. It's going to be a really great day, I believe, with Stacy Day. So that's coming up. On April 27th, I will be in Grand Forks at the West Kootenay Quilt Conference. I used to attend this. It's the annual gathering of the West Kootenay Quilt Guilds. So if you're a Quilt Guild member, you can go, and everybody shares what they've done over the last year. And there's vendors and snacks and visits, and I can't wait. I have attended many years as a Quilt Guild member. I did a few years as a vendor, and I get to go back this year as a vendor. I'm bringing my project bags, and I'm bringing a number of things from Poppins Quilt Parlor. And I would love to hear from you if you have something specific you'd like me to bring from Poppins. By all means, shoot me an email and I will deliver. I also would be thrilled to take some quilts home to quilt. I love my Kootenay quilting ladies. I can't express my appreciation enough how they helped me get going when I was starting out. They brought me things that challenged me and things that were fun to work on, and I learned so much, and I still learn every day, and I still love working on the quilts every day. So please, 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 if you have some quilts you'd like me to quilt, then bring them with you to the conference and I'll bring them home, and we could arrange something when I go up to Fiberphilia Fest in June for me to drop them off, or as always, there's usually somebody going back and forth that doesn't mind taking an extra quilt or two. We can always ship them back and forth too. So that's that. The next thing on my agenda is Yarn Okanagan. It's June 1st in Kelowna. I don't have a lot of the details. I did look at the classes. I don't think I'm going to take any classes, but I probably will try to go and see the Merchant Mall and see what's there. There's some local Okanagan dyers and pattern designers and that kind of thing going to be there. So it'd be very cool to meet some of those people from around here. And the other thing that's going on in Kelowna in June, June 7th to 9th, there is a long arm quilting retreat. So it's actually 2.5 days of long arm classes. It's being put on by Maple Leaf Quilting Company. So I'll put a link to the website in the show notes. There's not a whole lot of detail on there yet, other than sign up by April 1st and get a better rate than after April 1st. It is close enough. I won't have to stay over in Kelowna. I can probably drive back and forth each day, but I'm looking forward to the opportunity. 2 of the teachers that are coming out of the 5 that I can remember are Paige Johnson, which I've taken classes from her years ago in Tacoma and in Portland, and then there's also Jody Robinson, who was teaching classes at the INMQ, the Inland Northwest Machine Quilters Guild in Spokane last year, and I couldn't go for that. So I'm kind of looking forward to those 2 for sure, and the other 3 are names that I haven't taken classes from before, but I have heard of them, and I think it'll be well worthwhile. So that's June 7th to 9th in Kelowna. And then June 22nd, 23rd, of course, is Fiberphilia Fest in New Denver. And I'm very excited to be going up there for that and visiting with everybody. I believe there's a yarn tasting on the Friday night, which is the 21st as well. And that last year we went, and it was so much fun. We had got a little bit of yarn from everybody and got to try it out and see if we liked it. And there were little needle felting demonstrations, and everybody had a little talk about what they do and why they do it. And so it was pretty fun. So that's the events that are going on. The other thing that I'd like to tell you about, I joined an online sewing themed book club. Sew Sweetness, S-E-W sweetness.com has put it on, and what it is they're recommending one book each month for 6 months. So the January book was The Sewing Machine by Natalie Fergie. I just finished listening to it on audible.com, and it was a great story. I really loved it. It was wonderful. So there is a video link up every month to discuss the book, like a real book club. And Sarah from Sew Sweetness also offers a pattern and a tutorial on how to put that pattern together. She does a lot of bag patterns, and she, on her YouTube channel, Sew Sweetness, does Sunday Social, SEWCIAL, social, and answers all kinds of questions on her patterns and her techniques and that kind of thing. So she's an incredible resource. So hop over there to sewsweetness.com and fill your boots. It's awesome. It's really nice that somebody would offer so much. So the other book that I'm also listening to, the Wicked series by Gregory McGuire on Audible. And so I've listened to Wicked, and I've listened to Son of a Witch, and awesome stories. They're an offshoot of The Wizard of Oz, and very, very cool. I would recommend listening to it, and your older kids, like preteens, would probably, well, not maybe, preteens, like maybe teenagers, 13, 14, would probably love them too. And the other book that I really enjoyed, that really struck me in the last little while, was called Unsheltered. It is by Barbara Kingsolver. She is the author that wrote the Poisonwood Bible many years ago, and my last favorite by her was called Flight Behavior, about monarch butterflies. And Unsheltered was very current. I guess that's the best description for it. It talks about a family who's 3 generations of a family whose circumstances change drastically in a very short period of time, and they all have to cope. And it's very cool how each of the generations interprets the situation and does what they can do to make things work. And it speaks a lot to situations that, we could all be there in the drop of a hat, and in a layoff, and a death in the family, and an illness. It could happen to any one of us. Anyway, everything turns out all right, and it's just a very good, what do I want to say? It's a great book. Read it, listen to it. Unsheltered, Barbara Kingsolver. So I think that's all I have to say. This is my second round at this. I added some photographs of the quilt behind me onto the end of the video that I taped yesterday, and thought, oh, I'll add some music. Well, my music was playing through the whole video over me talking, And while you could hear me talk, it was very annoying. So lesson number 824, do not delete your video off your phone where you can edit it before you've actually listened to it or looked at it and made sure everything's going all right. So anyway, I will add some photographs of this quilt, some close-up photographs, and there are some on the website as well in the store area, and try to add some music to just that part. Anyway, have a wonderful rest of March. We'll see you in April, and the sun is shining and the snow is melting and spring is finally here. So enjoy it, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.